shot. I like that better.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff going on in the news. I wanted to touch on a couple of things. We have Ira Keltis coming up to talk about the flu in a few minutes. I wanted to give him some extra time because he did a lot of research on this. And I don't even know where I'm supposed to look.
Just look straight ahead.
All right, okay. And we'll get that side shot in a second. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I know Fred Meredith talked about the government shutdown. Very interesting stuff that the Democrat Party in Washington cares more about the citizens of other countries than they care about you. And it just blows my mind because I can't get past it. I mean, we can talk about dreamers, we can talk about education, but the fact is they were willing to shut down the government and not pay the military. They're willing to shut down the government and not pay American citizens who have jobs working for the federal government because they were advocating, because to them, their priority, what's more important to them, is people who are citizens from other countries who came here illegally without our permission. And I saw yesterday there was a big demonstration outside Walt Disney, and they did all these demonstrations all over the country last week. Start there. If you're going to be deporting people, how about start there? Because all we hear is that they're in the shadows. They didn't look like they were in the shadows to me. They were live on CNN with big signs demanding we give them stuff. I don't know any other country on the planet you could do that. Like, can you as an American go to Germany, sneak into the country, be there illegally with no documentation, get a bunch of your friends who are there illegally, and march through their streets demanding free stuff? I don't think you can do that anywhere. I don't know any other country on the planet where you can do that. But they're doing it here. And then we hear these lame-ass excuses from politicians and CNN that we can't deport 11 million illegal aliens. Well, you know what? Yes, we can. We fought all of World War II in 3 years? How long was World War II, Rich? Rich is a Vietnam vet. 4.5 years. We solved World War flipping II. You mean to tell me we can't deport 11 million illegal aliens? And by the way, how do we know it's 11 million? Why do people keep using 11 million illegal aliens when they're here illegally? We don't know how many there are. By definition, we don't know how many there are because they came here illegally. There's no documentation. It could be 50 million. It could be 100 million. So, I mean, I don't understand the whole government shutdown thing. I think that the Democrats kind of overplayed their hand a little bit. And I know that this is going to come back up. I said it a little earlier. I'm okay with dreamers staying if they keep their nose clean. I look at the immigration situation the way I look at my home, right, or my office. If someone wants to come to if I throw a party at my house and somebody uninvited shows up, but they're not causing any trouble and they're behaving themselves and they're having a good time, I'm probably not going to care, right? But if I'm having a party in my house and someone uninvited comes in and they start fist fights and they start pouring beer all over the floor, well, guess what? You're going home. And that's how we should be looking at our country. We should stop with all these false ideas that are put into our head from the news media. Like all of these illegal aliens, every single one of them, they're all great. They're all wonderful people. Oh, Sean the barista's here. Sean the barista. Awesome. He's here with my coffee. I'll finish this rant in a minute. We have something more important to get to. Thank you, Sean. How's everything going? Good. Thank you. I appreciate this. Did you suggest to Dave, tell him my suggestion, we need a taco stand here?
I have not seen David yet.
All right. We're working on getting a taco stand here at the studio because I need tacos. I mean, I'd rather have Taco Bell, but I know Sean the barista could probably make a better taco than Taco Bell. Oh my God, that's the best coffee anywhere ever. So we were talking about the sanctuary cities, the immigration situation. I'm really tired of people saying that those who are for deporting illegal aliens, those that want border security, that they're racist. I don't know what race illegal alien is. But I do know, as I said during the news, that there are black Americans in large numbers who are getting a terrible education, who can't get jobs, who are having a hard time economically, who are a large portion of them going to jail because they don't have any economic opportunity and they're committing crimes. And I don't see how importing people who will work for half the wages that they will work for helps them. See, I have this belief that, and I said it on the first show and I'm going to keep saying it, that everything that the Democrat Party says they believe is in direct contradiction to everything else the Democrat Party says they believe. On the one hand, they pretend to advocate for African Americans while they've done literally absolutely nothing for African Americans over the last 30 years. Just look at the statistics. Look at how many African Americans are going to jail today, even under the Obama administration, as compared to 30 years ago under Ronald Reagan. That's kind of odd, considering the Democrats say that they care so much about African Americans. And at the same time that they're pretending they care about African Americans, they're advocating for more illegal aliens coming and staying in the country, giving them free benefits, making them citizens, and shutting down the government to do it. So I think when people actually can think for themselves, I think sometimes kids go to college and they get brainwashed, and they don't know how to think anymore. And they don't even understand the difference between a comparison and an analogy, right? So they don't have the basics of even understanding. We watch the news differently. Conservatives and Democrats watch the news differently. You could sit a conservative and a liberal in a room and put on CNN. They're both going to see two different things because they've been trained through our colleges to hear things differently, to see things differently. And even certain words, you could have any topic in the world like immigration, and all the liberal hears is racism, they hate brown people. And all the conservative hears is they're letting people into our country who aren't supposed to be here, and it's screwing up our economy. But they're both watching the same report. And I think that's because of college. All right, we got a couple of things I want to get to. Do you have that video ready? I'll give you a build-up before we get there. So yesterday, I wanted to talk about this a little bit during my rant today. So yesterday, the North Andover police and a group called Cops for Kids with Cancer made the day of an 11-year-old boy in North Andover who has cancer. They did a dozen cruisers. They did a motorcade from the police station to his house. They picked him up at his house. They gave him you'll be able to see the video in a second. They'll give him a high five as he was coming out. They put him in the lead cruiser, and they did another motorcade back to the station where they gave his family a check for $5,000 and gave him a bunch of stuff. They gave him toys and a bunch of things to help him out, things that he needed that I guess his parents told the cops that he needed. And I thought it was a really great thing. All we hear about is how cops suck. All we hear on the news is how cops are a bunch of jackbooted thugs that are taking people's rights away. And I would be okay with that if the news told you the other side too. Like if they were talking about bad cops, but they were also talking about what the good the cops do, and they were balanced and they were fair and they were objective, I'd be okay with it, but they don't. What they do is they attack cops every chance they get. So I thought this was a good thing yesterday. Can we run that clip still? Ira. Hello, Ira. What's going on? Can I get a picture of you two guys? What happened? No, I'm in the office. I'm trying to cut off video. So there's Nathan. Nathan's coming out, and then he goes over and he high-fives all the cops on his way down. I thought that was kind of cool. We had North Andover cops, and we had the... I don't know. I haven't heard state police. And then when they got back to the station, they gave him a little presentation, which was pretty interesting. We were going to run that video, but we don't have to. I know I'm running a little over on time, 2:48. What else do we have? Israel. Today, Donald Trump was in Israel with my favorite person in the entire world, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Everybody's all worked up about us moving our embassy to Jerusalem and us declaring that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Newsflash. Jerusalem has been the capital of Israel for 4,000 years, okay? And anybody who can find a way to justify complaining about Jerusalem being the capital of Israel, probably an anti-Semite, or probably a brainwashed millennial who just got out of college and thinks that the Jews are the bad guys. We see this all the time. We hear this all the time, these fake narratives in the news, fake narratives coming out of our college campuses from these communist professors that warp our kids' minds. Look, everybody thinks that the Israeli situation with the Palestinians is so complicated, right? It's so complicated. They get down in the weeds. They want to go back 4,000 years and 2,000 years and who owned the land. Listen, it's not about land. It's very simple. It's not about land. If every Jew in Israel tomorrow got up, took all their stuff, and moved to the North Pole and said, we're done. The Arabs can have it. The Muslims can have it. You can have everything. We don't care. and they moved to the North Pole, the Muslims would celebrate for a day and then plan their invasion for the North Pole, claiming that that's somehow part of their holy land from the Quran. Because it's not about land. The land argument is a distraction. It's a lie. It's about hating Jews. That's what it's about. That's why the Palestinians strap bombs to their kids and put them on buses to blow up children. Because they hate the Jews more than they love their children. It's part of the way they've been indoctrinated. It's part of the way they've been brainwashed. So I was glad to see President Bush, unlike President Obama. President Obama appeased the terrorists for 8 years. We saw how that worked out, right? We saw how that worked out in San Diego. We saw how that worked out in many cities in the country. We saw how it worked out in Kabul. We saw how it worked in Turkey, Istanbul. We saw how that worked out. When you appease terrorists and you appease bad people, they do more bad things, just like North Korea. Obama appeased that guy for 8 years. Clinton gave him the ability to get a nuclear weapon. Now he might actually have one. So I'm glad the president met with Benjamin Netanyahu today. I'm glad that it's making the Democrats and the liberals absolutely batshit crazy. And I think what we're going to see over the next couple of years is, now that they've taken Jerusalem off the table, now that won't be a sticking point for any negotiations because it's already settled. We're moving our embassy there, and we've declared it the capital of Israel. What else do we have? Let's see. Sanctuary cities. I talked about the sanctuary city stuff. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to we're going to promote Twin Light Security. We appreciate them being here, protecting me today. We also appreciate them coming with me when I'm riding around Lawrence, going to shooting calls and fires and accidents. That's always fun. Having them there. Twin Light Security, Twin Light Investigations, A&M Auto Body, Attorney Peter Caruso, who represented me, and we won, by the way. He's represented me 3 times, and we won all 3 times. Thank you, Peter. And I'll have a graphic for you next week for him. Stu, want to thank Stu Fink here is my producer today. Well, I'm going to take a quick break. I don't think I have really much else to talk about today. I know it's a quick day. Ira Keltz is going to be coming up in a couple seconds. And he's got a really in-depth report. He did a lot of research on this, and I think it's really important. I know you guys just want to hear me snark about everything, but I think it's really important to educate people about stuff. So our next segment's going to be Ira talking about the flu, and hopefully he'll educate you and maybe even keep you a little healthy. And thank you, Sean the barista.